Yo!
Dave, tell everybody what song that was, please.
That was, well, it was meant to be 1952 Vincent Black Lightning by Richard Thompson.
Beautiful.
Who was, he was a crazy, lovely guitar player, and you should all check him out. He's a guitar player, folk song, folk rock, folk song, folk artist, and he does some clever songs.
Yeah.
Very good writer.
Yeah.
And what a fantastic. He's a Muso's guitar player.
And what band was he in, Dave?
He was in Fairport Convention.
Yeah.
And he goes out on his own these days, either solo or with his
Yeah.
three-piece band, or he's had other incarnations.
Very nice.
But he's a great player.
Brilliant.
Fantastic player.
Yeah.
And a thoroughly nice chap, from what I've seen.
I listened to his boy. His boy's called Teddy. I've got some of his records I bought over the years, and I always thought he was American, but the dad at least was
English. Richard is English. Yeah.
Where was he from? Is he from London?
I think he's from Shepherd's Bush, not in Ilway. I think.
Okay.
And I think his dad was a policeman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He grew up there, and he wanted. The song came from. He has passion for motorbikes.
Yeah.
Which is what I've heard him talk about.
Yeah,
A Vincent Black Lightning. There was only, I think, 33 made.
It was like a GT bike.
It was,
back in the day.
some
yeah,
like early
very
racing
quick,
bike.
very quick. What's interesting is that so he was from West London. Quite a lot of English musicians, like the Who, come from West London. They come from Uxbridge and Shepherd's Bush.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page, I believe.
I thought he was from Surrey when he originally.
Was Jimmy Page from Surrey?
I think so.
Okay.
So was, I think, Jeff Beck, and so was Clapton.
Really? Yeah, Jeff Clapton was from Surrey.
I thought, I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure on Jeff Beck. He's
Yeah.
a thing I've never really
Yeah.
studied, so, yeah. Anyway.
John Paul Jones was from Sidcup.
Was he?
Did you know that?
I didn't know
Grew up
that.
in Sidcup.
Really?
Yeah, so if we just quickly think about Led Zeppelin, obviously Bonzo and Robert Plant was from the West Midlands.
Yeah.
That was from the Black Country. And then the other two was from the South, John
Wow.
Paul Jones and Jimmy
Page.
Page. Yeah. So I'm not sure where they met, but maybe it was at university or something. But yeah, it's interesting to me that you've got a band, obviously at the time the biggest band in the world, and they come from different parts of the country. Interesting.
Yeah, they meet up. I suppose they meet up in circles, being in bands, travelling
In
around.
clubs, yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
Amazing.
it's that thing, isn't it? That connection thing.
Yeah.
You like, here we go. Like, it just takes one little
Yeah.
spark, one little connection, and then all of a sudden things happen or things change. And it's like, it takes one phone call. It takes one phone call. There's a story there, when I was doing transport for bands years ago, and I was it came from one guy, really, and then you meet this guy, next guy,
Yeah.
and then he gives you a bit of work, and you mix in a different circle, and then you put a card up in his studio where he's been working, and you get another guy. It all starts from one little chance meeting of somebody, and it goes out like the roots of a tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's how it spreads out. It's it's always a wondrous thing. I always thought it just comes from one. All that work, I can name names of bands that are, kind of known, and it all comes from one person.
And sometimes it might happen very quickly. Other times it might take years. But the pieces of the jigsaw seem to fall into place when they're meant to.
Yeah. When they're meant to, naturally, it just happens.
Yeah.
There's another thing there.
Yeah.
So there's first lesson of the day.
Yeah.
Is throwing the mud at the wall. You chuck enough mud at the wall.
You say this a lot, yeah.
You keep chucking it at the wall. It's the same as doing the knowledge. When we've done the knowledge, you just keep chucking them in. You keep doing it. You keep doing it, and you have bad days, and you feel you want to chuck it all in. That goes to everything in your life, in the work, in anything. You keep chucking mud at the wall. There was this band I used to work for. Well, I worked for them a couple of times, but I knew them through being at the studio a lot, and they were rubbish. They were rubbish. They were god awful. But they kept going, and they kept getting gigs, and they kept getting more gigs, and all of a sudden you went, they're rubbish, but they're getting work. They were getting gigs, and then all of a sudden, one guy left, and another guy come in, and they kept going and going on a different path, but they would keep going, and they were still rubbish. And I still didn't like them, but they were nice guys. But I didn't like what they were doing, and it wasn't me, and I thought they were rubbish. But sooner or later, down the line, they got a record deal.
Because they threw enough mud at the wall, eventually some of it stuck.
Sooner or later, you chuck enough mud at it, you keep
Yeah.
going, you keep chucking the mud at the wall, sooner or later, it will stick.
You make enough phone calls.
Yeah.
I actually saw, I listened to a podcast last week, and it was by a musician, and he actually said the same thing, that there was a famous band in New York in maybe the 2000s, and they wasn't very good, but they was just so upfront about how good they was, where they was playing. As soon as they done one gig, they was telling everyone, and then on the back of that, they'd get another gig. They ended up on TV in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Because they was like a touring New York band. And what's interesting is that the most talented artists, the best musicians, the majority of them, they have never made it. And that is heartbreaking, because as a consequence of being an artist, sometimes people suffer from not enough confidence, because to be an artist, to express your inner self, sometimes it takes away a lot of your confidence. It takes away a lot of your security, because you're putting yourself out there, where another band comes along, not the best in the world, but they've got the best, almost like PR, the best promotion, being themselves, telling everyone how great they are, and they're the ones that normally make it. And that's really an injustice, really.
Yeah, but see, the world is full of that.
Yeah.
My experience when I was hanging around the studios, like the rehearsal place, and my mate had a rehearsal place in Camberwell. Anyway, I was hanging around down there. We used to go drinking and all that, crazy stuff. And I used to work out there with a transport firm, taking the bands around. And I used to meet lots of them, and be socialising with these people. And there was some guys you meet who are like, wow, this guy's got it. He's fantastic. He can play. He can sing. He can write. Didn't get nowhere.
No.
There's another
It's
band.
heartbreaking.
There was another band that I remember. This guy, he was such a lovely fella. I used to do a little bit of work for him, transport, a little bit here and there, but he was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And his missus was with him, and this band, they were all a bit, how can I say, not freaky, but freaky. Do you know what I mean? They weren't your average, geezer rock stars or geezers.
Yes.
They were like kind of off the wall, kind of strange looking bohemian kind of people. But beautiful, lovely people, right?
Yeah.
Real nice. Used to live in the flats up in the bloody tower block. And they were really nice, and they had a really interesting sound. And I took them, drove them to a gig and watched them play a few times. And I was like, yeah, there's just nice people, great sound, interesting, different sound. They never did anything.
Really.
You think they've got to do something, because that's so different from what anybody else was doing.
To be original in art is so difficult. And when you do find a bit of originality, like I say, the downside of that is that normally, or it's very often, the more original the artist, the more they can lack confidence sometimes, because
Maybe.
they're so different.
Yeah.
And because they're so different, no one's ever been able to sort of really praise them, because when they was first coming up, people wouldn't have even understood what they was doing, whether it be music, art, poetry, creating anything. If you're the first person to really create something quite different, there's nothing to really gauge it by. And sometimes you can be a generation too early, or even more than a generation. It might take let's say the classic example would be like Vincent van Gogh. Never sold a piece of art while he was alive.
No, come today, he's worth millions.
Yeah, it's crazy. And how heartbreaking would it have been to be him? He would have been racked with insecurities, especially when people wasn't buying his art. And it's tragic the way it ended. I mean, he ended up killing himself. So I don't know. It's such a shame that. And then when you do get somebody who has gotten near the complete package as possible, I mean, I can probably name a few artists that I admire in history that seem to have everything. Even they would have been lacking, and they would have had some sort of vulnerability. I'm talking about someone like John Lennon, completely vulnerable, not the nicest person in the world, but one of the most famous people in history. He literally changed the world. So it's crazy how just to be an artist, there's all these different facets. Not only what art are you going to create, but then what can you bring to the table at your one particular field of art,
Yeah, that's a strange thing. They, like you said about Vincent van Gogh, it's like, this band, they were good.
Yeah.
And they never did nothing.
No.
But, would it be like Vincent in 100 years' time, somebody dig out the old recording?
Probably.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
You know, well, listen,
probably.
really.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird thing. I never thought of that before. But yeah, so, you know, chucking the mud at the wall, you must chuck the mud at the wall.
Yeah.
And keep doing it. If you've that, you know.
Some of it's got to stick
passionate about
eventually.
it. Yeah, sooner or later,
Yeah.
it sticks.
Yeah.
So that was that, yeah. It just takes one phone call. All it takes is a bit of luck, one phone call, one chance.
Yeah.
Like I've done in business, it's the same thing. These rules all kind of equate to everything you do in business. You know, a guy phoned me once, hello, got this thing, this bloke wants to sell it. I went, oh, okay, I'll go and have a look at it. So I'll go and look at this thing. Yeah, all right, I'll buy that and sell that. That's no problem. Boom, I bought it. So it goes. It just said it one and it earned me a nice few quid. It was. I won't go into details, but you know, it was just a business.
Yeah.
So guy phoned me. Hello, this is it. Just takes that one phone call and
Exactly.
you get lucky.
It's almost like a sixth sense sometimes with me. If I'm doing something and I believe in it, I almost get like a sixth sense that I should be doing something. And even like I buy and sell watches now. When I first started buying, I was very lucky, but I've always had a passion for watches. And when I first started buying them, even my good friends who are my business partners were saying, "What are you doing? You know, what are you doing? Like you're crazy. You're spending money on watches." And I've just sometimes in life you get that bit of luck. If you've got a passion for something, then suddenly now watches is like one of the biggest businesses in the world. Everyone around the world now loves, seems to me, they're investing because of the economic climate. Some people are getting a little bit of money now, especially pre-COVID, and they was just now start to invest the money into watches.
They've become a investable commodity, haven't they?
Very good.
It's a thing. It's a thing I've never understood. I don't get that.
Yeah.
But it could be a watch. It could be, you know, Sherman tank or a chocolate bar.
exactly.
Whichever the product is, it doesn't matter. It's but you know, it's you having that foresight to be wanting to get into
It
that.
was just an instinct, and to this day, I just thank God because I don't know where it come from. I've always had a massive passion for watches, but I say to my friends, it's like being in a gold rush. It's like being like really interested in gold, and then suddenly everyone is then getting involved with the gold rush in like 1849 in California. Like now, there's so much money.
So it was your idea, your passion to get involved with that.
Yeah.
And so you wanted to get involved with that, but at that point it wasn't like peeking out.
Nobody was.
No one was really going for it, like they are today.
Yes.
So it was. So was it luck?
It was
or
luck.
was that your instinct, or just you wanted to get involved with it?
I think it was. I think in life, my attitude in life is that there's never really one reason for anything. There's normally at least two reasons, and they sort of melt together. The first reason was my passion for. I mean, the first time I ever saw a Rolex. It wasn't even a real Rolex, but I was 15 and I was in Gibraltar with my mum and my dad, and I looked in this shop window. I mean, I've said this many times before, and I saw this. I didn't realise it was an imitation gold Rolex, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I didn't know how much I didn't even know what a Rolex was. So my dad went and bought me this imitation Rolex, and I wore it everywhere as a kid. And then suddenly Rolex is probably one of the top 3 companies in the world now. So the initial passion for that product, I didn't know anything. I just knew that it was a watch.
That was cool.
It was a mechanical watch,
Yeah.
and that fascinated me. And then it looked beautiful. It was gold, and it had like very delicate sort of details. Even as a kid, I sort of appreciated the details and the artistic side of how something was.
See, that's the strange thing with me.
Guitars.
Well, like you talk about watches, like I would talk about guitars that way. But I don't see watches. I look at them and go,
Yeah.
it's a bloody watch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, what's special about that? It doesn't, you know, if it's gold or it's got, you know, something about it.
Yeah.
I did like that, you know, the one with the coloured face, the green one.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Beautiful.
It looked cool.
Yes.
But I was like, not that cool. You know, not millions of pounds cool.
Yeah.
But these guys, you know, like that, I'll see a programme on TV about the watch thing. It was like Philip Patek. He wanted to buy this watch, this guy, and he was trying to buy it off this bloke, and it was 95 grand. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what these things are. I'm looking at it going, it's just a bloody watch.
Yeah.
It tells you the time.
Yeah.
My phone tells me the time. I switch it on, it tells me the time.
Yeah.
But this guy was spending 95 grand on this bloody watch. I'm like, wow. But I don't understand it. It's not a thing that I understand or have ever got. So you either have that understanding or you don't. But it's a strange thing for me. Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, a few months ago, quite famously, speaking about Patek Philippe's, there's obviously a company called Tiffany in New York, and Tiffany have got their own blue. It's like a turquoisey blue, and Patek released 170 of a new model. So 170 of these watches. The retail was like 42 UK, and it's sold in auction in Phillips in New York, and I think it was like something like $5 million. By the time that both fees were paid, the buying and the selling, it was worth about over $5 million. I'm sure it was over $5 million
Bloody hell.
because it had this Tiffany blue dial. There was only 170 in the world, and it was a Patek watch. People are now selling. There's people in the world who've got Pateks, and then they're selling them and buying their children houses with the money.
Bloody hell, mate.
Yeah,
For something that you wear on your wrist and
Yeah.
walk down the shops with.
it's crazy.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Because so this is my idea, my attitude is that so people was buying and selling, people was buying houses. I mean, we're talking about London. They'd sell their house and get a better house. Then people was stabilising, and then they was extending their house to make it better to earn more money that way. And then it's got to the point now where people was then just, if they had enough money, they'd buy a watch, let it go up in value,
And then
sell it,
sell it.
and then buy a house.
Nuts.
They'd be buying Porsches with the money. They'd be buying houses. I've heard stories of a man who bought a Rolex for like 83,000 UK, and he turned down 800,000 for it. That's a true story.
Oh,
It's a
bloody
true
hell.
story. So it's obviously supply and demand.
Yeah, but you've got to be in that game.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it, so it wouldn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
And the only way I can relate to it is like the way I think of guitars.
Yes.
Certain guitars.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you can buy a guitar off the wall in a shop and it's, 200-300 quid.
Yeah.
Or you can buy one off the wall in a shop and it's like, there are some guitars that are $250,000
Wow.
quid. And,
Yeah.
it's just a piece of wood with some
Yeah.
strings on it. There's
Yeah.
nothing special about it. Oh no, but this is
It's
blah,
a
blah, blah.
special.
And I could tell you, it's 1959 Les
Yeah.
Paul and it's $250,000 quid
Yeah.
now. And there was only, X amount made.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing. So it's the same thing, but same meat, different gravy.
If it's got the provenance, like for example, the most famous watch of modern times was Paul Newman, the actor. His wife Joanna Woodward, he had started racing cars in the I'd say late 60s, and he needed a watch with a chronometer on it so he could actually time the laps. So she went into the local Rolex shop, and there's a Rolex, the most famous watch in the world is called a Rolex Daytona. But at the time, Rolex couldn't give them away. So she actually got this watch on a discount. She gave it to him. She had it engraved on the back and she gave it to him. They was a very happy couple. And that watch was sold about, I'm guessing, 5 or 6 years ago for like $18 million almost. And that is called the Paul Newman Daytona. And he actually got another one. So there's 2 Paul Newman Daytonas in the world that he was owned by him. And the second one he gave to his daughter. She gave it to her then boyfriend, and then he rang her up about 5 years ago and said, "Look, you better have this watch back because it's worth millions." So even the second Daytona that he had is still worth in the.
So why is that worth millions? Because if it's Paul Newman's?
It's the provenance. Because
because there was only X amount of that watch made.
there was only X amount of that watch made, but only because it wasn't a massive seller. So Rolex sort of thought, well,
Shelved it,
yeah. And then just again, everything fell into place. The movie star culture started coming through. The pop star culture started coming through in the late 60s, early 70s. He was suddenly the biggest star in the world. Then he'd become a very good racing driver. And then the whole thing about having some sort of wealth and what you can spend it on. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, obviously post-World War II, people actually had some money that they'd accumulated. People was getting into luxury items. And just, again, like you throw enough mud at the wall, something's going to stick. It was like a combination of different pieces of mud being thrown onto different walls. And suddenly you've got a pop culture. And
There you go.
his
Boom.
watch was... And then watches come to the front, and someone is then giving like over $17 million for his watch. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm not talking about it's beautiful because I do think the money is obscene. I think it's vulgar. But it's beautiful to admire beautiful objects, because I like mechanical watches, And again, once I was getting into the watches, I bought my first Rolex in 1995, and I was just the whole just
Check the peanut.
yes, even as a kid,
Check the peanut.
even as a kid, I used to look at the magazines and just look for the Rolex adverts because even the Rolex ads in the magazines were just so
Sexy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. I just love the graphics, and because like I like art and I make art, I love the colours. I love what the message was. Just brilliant things. And like they do divers watches, they do what we call GMT watches, which means you've got a second time zone, Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
So they're actually pilot's watches because a pilot would need a second time zone of the country that he was flying to. And then you've got like what we call sports watches, which are like for racing drivers, things like that. It's amazing, beautiful thing. And Rolexes aren't even the best watch in the world. There's a thing called the Holy Trinity of the three best commercial watchmakers, and Rolex aren't even in that three.
Really?
But they're bulletproof, they're robust, and whoever they employ to do their marketing was a genius move because they probably had them and Apple, I would say, have had the best marketing of any two companies in history. Everyone now thinks that Rolex is the best watch in the world.
McDonald's ain't done bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's just fascinating. You know, we're talking about, you know, it seems to me, everybody, that, you know, Dave and I and all our other mates, we seem to speak about, you know, back in the old days and everything. But what we're basically saying is, you know, as men, and you know, it's obviously just as bad for women, but as men, getting old is just a bummer. I remember my godfather, my Irish uncle, for years saying to me, you know, just don't ever get old. And it's happening to everybody. And it's heartbreaking. I still haven't come to terms with it, Dave.
Now, getting old is a strange thing because in my head, I'm still like, yeah, I'm still 21. I'm still got, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in school,
Yeah.
you know, late finishing school, around 81, I was leaving school. I used to say to myself, in the year 2000, I'll be 35.
Oh,
I'm like, 35?
that's old.
That was 22 years ago. Do you know what I mean? In the year 2000, I'll be 35.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be old.
yeah.
You know, you chop your arm off to be 35 again, wouldn't you?
You see, now, when we look at 35, that's young. But when you're in school, 35 is ancient.
I'm 56 now.
Dave,
And it's like, where did that go?
it's heartbreaking.
The other thing is like, you wake up and you think, oh, you're 56. I was 21 a minute ago. Where did all that time go? What happened in that time? It goes so quick. Everyone says that, don't they?
It's a cliche, but
it's
cliches
true.
are true.
It is true.
Generalisations and cliches, in my experience, are there because mostly there's some truth in them.
Getting old.
It's heartbreaking.
You know, 35 in the year 2000.
It's become a very...
The year 2000 used to be a thing,
Yeah,
didn't it?
it was a landmark.
The year 2000
Yeah.
was, woo, you know, the world will change.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's just a bloody same.
Yeah.
You know, all right, we've got an iPad now, an iPhone, but technology's moved forward with us, but, you know, everything else is the same.
Now, what's interesting to me is because obviously I'm 51 and it's heartbreaking, dear listeners. You know, if you're under that age, then, you know,
Enjoy yourself.
I envy you. Is it different? Because I remember my old granddad, you know, I remember he died when he was 65. And to me, that was ancient. But a 65-year-old in the 80s,
Was old.
it was old. Now, what is the difference there, Dave?
No, and it's very strange, right? Because in them days,
Yeah.
older guys never wore jeans.
My granddad only ever wore a suit.
Yes.
My English granddad.
Yes. My granddad, my great granddad never wore anything else but a suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Tie,
Yeah.
waistcoat,
Shoes,
shiny shoes,
trilby.
trilby hat.
Yeah.
Right? And there's pictures of him on the beach where he's took his jacket off.
Yeah.
But he's
God
still got
bless
his
him.
tie on,
God bless him.
and he's still got his shirt on,
Yeah.
and his waistcoat.
Because he's on holiday.
But he's on holiday, so he's took his jacket off. And then my granddad, which was, not my great granddad, my granddad,
Yeah.
he used to wear, he never ever wore jeans, but he used to wear trousers. And if he went down a pub, he'd put his tie on and his jacket in like a suit, and then go down there, slick back hair.
Yeah.
But in the summertime, he would take his shirt off because there's pictures of him at the caravan in Laysdown.
With his vest on.
vest,
Yeah.
and his
Braces.
braces hanging down,
Yes.
and his trousers, and
Yeah.
that was him. And yeah, it's funny. And now you look at older people now. Well, we are the older people, so
we are.
we wear jeans and tracksuits
Sadly.
and t-shirts, and we don't wear that. But that's just style has changed. But I don't know. We're not kind of like our granddads were.
Well, I never wear jeans.
Oh, do you not?
This is a subconscious thing for me.
Okay.
I never ever wear jeans, and I always try to wear a collar, whether it's on a t-shirt, a polo shirt, or a shirt. Now,
Right.
this is probably my insecurities coming from working class stock, where I've always been told try to take some sort of pride in your appearance, and if I'm lucky enough to be in different parts of the world, I do notice that it seems to me that is quite an English thing, where people from different parts of the world are a lot more relaxed. Even people, say in North America, you know, if I take out some of my older friends in North America, like some of them are like men, and they will come out with a pair of jeans and a t-shirt to a restaurant, and I can't get my head around it. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that everyone's different.
yeah, it's a strange thing.
Is that my insecurities that are making me have to be smart?
Well, no, it's I don't know.
It's interesting.
There's a strange thing. If you go out to a restaurant, you don't just wear a t-shirt,
No.
and you can wear a Fred Perry like a polo shirt with a collar.
because it's got a collar.
It's got a collar.
And it's got nothing to do with the price of the clothing.
No.
Some of the clothing I wear is actually quite cheap, but it's got a collar.
Yes, I get that. I understand
Yeah.
that. That's I don't know. Yeah, you have to wear a. If you're going to a restaurant,
Yeah.
you have to wear something with a collar, or
collar.
you know, a shirt or a polo. You know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't wear a t-shirt.
No. And I certainly wouldn't really want to wear. Well, I wouldn't wear trainers. I'd wear
Pair of shoes.
a nice pair of shoes, because I think a nice pair of shoes and a collar, I think, goes a long way.
It's funny. I noticed it the other day. It's like I went out to work, and I never usually wear just a t-shirt.
Yeah,
All right, in my cab.
yeah,
I always wear something with a collar,
Yeah.
i.e. a polo shirt or a shirt. Or if I wear them fleece things, you know, they've got a collar.
yeah.
And the reason I don't wear a t-shirt in the cab is 'cause I don't like the string around my neck.
Yeah.
If you put it under the collar,
Yeah,
it doesn't rub
Gotcha.
your neck.
This is of the badge, the green badge.
The green badge of my cab.
You
So,
wear a green badge, dear listener, like on a bit of string around your neck,
around your neck, yeah.
as a black cab driver.
So it's your badge of office, isn't it? It's what it is, you know, it's your qualification.
Yeah.
But I don't like the old string.
Yeah,
You know,
around
rubbing on
your
my
neck,
neck.
yes.
So I always have something with a collar, usually.
yeah.
Right? But then I was out in there the other day and I went out in my t-shirt. It was warm, a nice warm day.
Yeah.
I just had a straight t-shirt on and I went out and I put my badge on. I was like, oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
But it felt wrong.
Did you feel naked?
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt wrong. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this ain't right.
Yeah.
No, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Because you've got just a round neck t-shirt. It's very strange, isn't it? That must be a subconscious thing.
Because I like to wear hats. I actually don't feel fully dressed if I'm outside. If I haven't got a hat on, I don't feel completely dressed. That's interesting, and that must be a throwback as well, because that goes back to our grandfather's generation.
Always wore a trilby hat.
Always wore a trilby.
Or a flat hat.
Yeah, a flat cap. And it's such a shame. The first real person talking about popular culture who didn't wear a hat was JFK, the United States president. He rebelled, and he became well known for not wearing a hat. But
He got shot.
he got shot by the hat police. So no, I mean, God bless him. But yeah, that's for me. I like a hat, I like a collar, and I like a pair of nice trousers and shoes.
You're so poshy. You're so posh, mate.
No, but it's not, is it? It's working class. It's obviously some sort of insecurity deep within me.
Maybe, yeah.
And
Okay.
because a lot of working class people, sometimes all they had back in the day, like, again,
Yeah, you said that before, didn't you? It's like
all you had was your pride.
was your pride, and you dressed up as best you could. Your Sunday
When you
your
had nothing
Sunday
else,
dress.
when you had nothing else, but then obviously the pride can become a bad thing. But getting old, it's just a real,
It's amazing how time has actually flown.
Yeah.
You don't realise.
and it does get quicker. It's been proven.
It's because you get older.
Yeah,
Well, see, I can go back to doing the knowledge.
yeah.
Now, I started the knowledge. I've been out driving 12 years now.
Wow.
So I started, put 4 years in front. It's like 16 years ago.
it's a long
about that sort of
Long
time.
time.
I started to do this. 16, 17 years.
Wow.
It's coming up, actually, yeah. I started doing the knowledge.
That's almost a third of your life.
Kind of.
It's under
Yeah.
a third.
But that's when I started, right? So it took me like 4.5 years to get out.
And then you've been out
I've
for a long
for
time.
12 years, you know,
Wow.
now. So, but it's like, when it was weird, when I first got out, and I'm driving around, I went, the knowledge. What was that all about? Where did that go?
Yeah.
And it seemed like the time, you was on it for 4.5 years, plugging away every week, every day, you know, doing it, learning,
Every
doing it,
day,
learning,
yeah.
keep going, keep
Yeah.
going, keep going. And then when you get to the end of it and you're out and you're doing your job as a cab driver, you're driving around, you don't even think
You
of that
can't
time.
remember. I can't remember it now.
The time, the amount of time, there's 4.5 years
Yeah.
of work that you did, but you don't remember that time. It seems like a minute. And because you're doing the job now and you feel like you've always been there doing that job because that's what you're trained to do. But it's a strange thing.
It must be what it's like. I mean, you know, please God, like I've never been lucky enough to have children, but it must be what it's like when you've got children because you probably can't really remember before you had your children.
Yeah, that's a strange thing. I suppose you can, you can certain things.
Yeah.
But then your kids come along and then, well, I look at it now as well. My kids ain't kids no more. They're men.
They're men, yeah.
They're all out working. They're all out doing their own thing. And they're, they're young men now. So they're not kids. But you remember the time back when they were little, little one-around kids and, all that. But now you look at them, they're, big horrible geezers.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you think, what did their life was, a big chunk of your life, obviously. But it's like, where did that go?
See, that's ironic as well because
Time disappeared.
it just goes.
Yeah.
Your job as a parent is to give your kids wings so they don't need you anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's quite ironic as well because like Mother Nature can be very cruel sometimes because you bring these beautiful things into the world, you bring them up right, but the more right you bring them up, the less they need you, and because that's your job.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the cycle of life. It's amazing, really.
Yeah, and off they go flying away doing their own thing.
And then it's their turn to have kids, and the cycle.
And it carries on.
Yeah.
Oh, the circle of life. Eh? We'll get old Simba the Lion on in a minute, shall we? Special guest, Rafiki the Monkey.
It is. I do struggle with getting old. I spent half my life in the boxing gym, and I was, very physically fit. And then to have that,
Then discovered pie and mash.
yeah, we've just been back down to Pie Mash. But I used to be able to just run if I was in London. And I needed to get to a different part of London. I remember just running, and I wasn't out of breath. And I remember me and my friends running together once because we had to be somewhere, and we was running through London, and we was just talking, and we must have run about 3 or 4 miles, and it was just like nothing. And I remember I could have done it again and again and again. So fit, so just like the world literally was my oyster.
See, when you're young, so I can remember this,
Yeah.
and I've seen it in other people recently, they're immortal because they're young.
Yes.
They say for an example, at an age of 16.
Yeah.
They're immortal. The world is, old age is a million miles away.
Yeah.
And we all think that at that time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm 56 now.
Yeah.
Oh, in 4 years' time, I'm 60. 60?
Yeah.
That's granddad stuff.
That's an old man age.
It's old man age.
It's not
Well,
anymore.
it used to be in our age,
Yeah.
it is, because that's what we saw.
Yeah.
When we was kids,
Yeah.
the older people who were 60 were old.
Yeah.
Flat cap. Oh,
Yeah.
hello, boy.
Yeah.
Hardest game in the world.
Yeah,
30 years, man. I'm away. All that old stuff.
Yeah.
But, we're there now. We're sort of creeping up towards it. And it's like,
When I was 40, my then girlfriend said, "What do you want to do?" And I wanted to go to France for the day. I went to Le Touquet for the day with her, and I remember having a beautiful, a Romeo and Juliet cigar, sitting on the beach. And I'll never sit on the beach. And I was sitting on the beach, looking out over the ocean with a cigar, contemplating my first 40 years. Dave, that was 11 years ago.
yeah, well,
Like, I thought at 40, things are going to slow down a little bit. They've gotten even quicker.
it does. The
It
thing
is scary.
Like I say, you wake up and it's like, I'm 56. I'm
Yeah.
56. You're like, oh. But then again, somebody tells me these days, it's only numbers. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's more numbers today than it's ever been.
Yeah.
But have you had aches and pains?
Yeah, of course.
I've been getting some aches and pains.
Yeah, that's normal. But then again, remember, I'm not as active as I used to be because these days I sit on my arse all night
Right.
in driving a cab.
Yeah.
Which is, That's another little
Yeah.
subject. I'll come on to that.
Yeah.
But so I don't do much physical. In my old life in the market game, in the transport game,
Yeah.
we was loading and unloading
Yeah.
and working
Yeah.
and pushing and shoving
Yeah.
and getting on and getting
Yeah.
off and
Yeah.
loading and, working. But these days, I sit my ass all day, all night, in the cab. But then again, once I got in the cab, this is the point I'll come to. It's not getting old, I think it's just part of the cab game. Before this, I was obviously market man. And that's a physical job, You load the lorry, you unload the lorry, you load the lorry, you're serving the customers, you sit still up, your brake's still down, you're unloading. And it's like, it's non-stop physical until you go home and sit down.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't bother me that, it's fine. Was I younger then? Yes, I was. Now I drive a cab, I've never been so bloody tired.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on my arse all day.
Yeah.
And I'm driving a cab, right?
Interesting.
Now, some people say, well, it's the mental
Yes.
exhaustion.
Exhaustion, yeah. I'll make that
Because
right, yeah.
someone gets in the cab, they say, "Oh, take me to St Paul's, please." Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And you've worked out your line
In your brain, yeah.
in your brain, and off you go. Like someone said to me last night, Piccadilly, let's go Seven Sisters, please. Okay,
Yeah.
get in, lady. And as soon as you get in, your brain's working.
Yeah.
And you say, how am I going to get there? I'm going to go left, right, left, right, left, right. And you finger the line, then
Yeah.
you do it, and you start rolling it. So, is it the mental exhaustion? Because it can't be the physical. All I'm doing is sitting there. But it's stressful also, obviously being in traffic,
It's
but
stressful.
you don't realise that because you do it every day.
Well, do you remember what I said at the beginning? In life, often times, there's more than one reason for anything.
Yeah.
So it's probably a combination of 2 or 3 different things.
Well, I'm just
Working
getting
nights. Working nights.
Working nights is hard, yeah.
We've just come through COVID that I believe has affected a lot of people. I mean, I still do actually go boxing, and it's very strange because obviously, when I'm training, I might be boxing around a 3-minute round of boxing, or I might just be going around the punch bag and you put the timer on, so you're doing 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. And what I find I do, and this is an old habit, is that I box for longer than the 3 minutes, and then I stop, and I should get a minute rest, but I then go back on the bag before the minute. And that has been instilled into me, being a boxer since I was a kid, at some very good boxing clubs. So even though I'm getting older and I've got aches and pains, I like it when the aches and pains are through training, because it makes me feel alive.
So you make sure you've worked for that.
Yes, I've worked for it.
It's not just general fatigue.
No.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel alive. And if I'm in the boxing club and there's, like, say, younger boxers in there who haven't been schooled in the old school, they will box till the 3 minutes and then have the minute off. And while I'm out working them, I can see them looking over at me, and it's a source of pride because I know I've been taught how to box, to train beyond what they've been taught. And training, physical exertion, is so good, obviously, for your body, and it's so good for your mind. We say
Your
healthy,
mind as well,
healthy
yeah.
body, healthy mind. And I was known as what we call a gym rat, which means I was in the gym for 5 hours a day. And thank God, because it's given me, it's given me a strength and a stamina that has stayed with me. So I'm really pleased about that. I'm just moving around. Moving around is like a form of therapy.
Yeah, well, since I've, thought about all this,
Yeah.
I go for walks now.
Yes. Yeah.
And where I live, there's a few hills.
Too many hills. Yeah.
But when I first moved here,
Yeah.
I think, right, okay, we're just going to walk over there and see what's about and have a little stretch. So I done that and I come back, I was slaughtered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody hell, what do I do that for?
Yeah.
And then, you do it the next day and then you go somewhere else and go up the mountain into the park and all this. And sooner or later, after a few weeks of this, you started stretching yourself and, that wasn't so bad.
Your
That
body
was all right.
adapts.
Your body adapts to it and you get used to it and you started building your strength a little bit. Which is nice and it's good for you.
Yeah.
And it's good for your mental state as well.
Brilliant,
That little bit of exertion. Yeah. But I still
Being
get very
outside.
tired
Yeah.
doing it. The easiest job, well, not the easiest job, but a sitting down job. I sit on my ass. That was the thing. Getting old. Am I just getting old? Am I? I don't know.
No, because you're actually very fit. So it's a combination. Working nights slaughters you, because your natural body clock, at some point is going to kick in and it's going to go, look, it's
You're meant to be in
dark.
bed,
It's
yeah.
darkness, and I don't care who you are. I don't think the human body ever gets completely used to working nights.
I think you're right, actually. I know I do it all the time, but I don't think you're meant to.
No. As
Just
human beings,
In the natural order,
Yeah.
the sun comes up, we get up.
yeah,
Go to work, take you back to caveman days.
Yeah.
The caveman got up,
yeah,
he went out, hunted, got some food for the night, came home,
that's it.
ate the food,
And then slept.
and then the sun went down, he went to sleep.
Yeah. There's a natural order to things, and of course, there's always exceptions that prove the rule to things. Some people have to work nights, other people have to work different times. But again, the generalisations I believe are normally true, or there's a lot of truth in generalisations, let's say, and that is that as human beings for thousands of years, there's a reason why the sun goes down, and there's a reason why it comes up. I think it's interesting.
Of course there is, but it's a strange,
It's because, like, my natural body clock, I'm what we call a night owl. I believe there's three different sorts of people. I would say about 60% of people, naturally, their body clock is a 9 to 5. Then you've got 20% that what we call, like, the early birds. And then there's a 20% that I certainly am. I'm a night owl. I mean, I don't normally go to bed till, like, 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
But I do still try to get up by about sort of 8:30 in the morning. So, but because I like to sort of make art, I get very creative, either when I'm driving a car, believe it or not, or maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night, an idea will come to me and I want to try and I want to get it done. I want to get it done.
Yeah.
So, and it's amazing. But driving a car, and I think I like to drive places, and I think because it's quite relaxing driving a car, say if you're on the motorway or the freeway, whatever you want to call it. That's when ideas just come to me, and I take a pen and a pad, or I take my phone and I'll record an idea, and that's like an outlet for like inspiration. But one of the biggest things of my life is that I've always been blessed enough to work for myself and be able to get up naturally, and for me, that helps me a lot. Where other people, it doesn't really affect them too much, having to get up every morning to like an alarm clock. Thankfully, that's never been me, and thankfully I've never had to do it.
I struggle with it.
Yeah.
I these days I don't, and I get, not talked about. What's it? Slagged off.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you didn't get up till 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't finish till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But I can understand other people's things because they live by a different clock.
Everyone's different. Everyone's got their own body clock.
Yeah. I mean, we should be, like you say, in the morning, and then when the night comes, that's settle down time and that. But it's nice when I go to work.
Yeah.
I don't start till 3, 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And some nights I'm 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Sometimes, coming home.
What was you like on the market game? Was an early morning
The
start?
market was early, but I'm not an early person.
Yeah.
Like you were just saying. It was early, and it should be early, but it wasn't. I was always struggled with that. It never came easy to me.
Never come natural, no.
No, not natural. It was. I used to like it when I did pull it off and get up early, and you get ahead of the day.
Yes.
You get ahead of your work.
You
got
see the
your work
sun
done,
come up, yeah.
and then by 7 o'clock you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's great. But I'm not built that way.
No.
I think it's a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I hate it.
Yeah. We're the same.
I'm not lazy, but I'm lazy.
Well, yeah, but it's not being lazy, is it? Because, you probably only still get the same amount of sleep as everybody else, but you're just working later.
Yeah, but I'm doing different times.
Yeah.
Like, this morning I got in, I was 2:45.
Yeah.
So the time I got to bed was gone 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You have a cup of tea, sit down, have a fag.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that, kids. And, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You, and then you start, you get up, I got up today, about 10 o'clock. So.
That's not a lot of sleep.
No, it's not, I don't know.
6-7 hours.
Yeah, it's about 7 hours, isn't it? So it's about an average. I think the average is 8 hours that people have.
I would say, about 7 hours is the actual average. I mean, I'll probably get away with about 5 or 6, but I've never got much more than that.
Right.
But
I find as I'm getting older, if I say I got up today at 7 o'clock, I'd be slaughtered now. I'd be like angry and wound up and feeling it. You'd feel that when you're young,
the wrath.
Yes, when you're young, you can just that's all right. We'll go and have another pint, and we'll go and do another job, or we'll go and do something else.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting older.
Yeah.
It's like no, I want to go to bed now. I want to shut down now for a little while and recharge.
Yeah.
It's getting old.
Well, it's called maturity, where you're able to listen to your body.
Yeah.
Listening to your body when you're a kid, it's impossible, I would say, almost impossible, because you're just not interested, because you don't need to listen to it.
Because you're indestructible. You're
Exactly.
immortal when you're that age.
You're this beautiful thing. And then you start to listen to your body. I mean, I've never, ever slept in the afternoon, ever. And then recently, where I've been just doing a lot of work, my body's just been shutting down for half an hour in the afternoon, and if I'm indoors,
It's just getting older.
Is it? See, that's depressing. I don't want it. It's very depressing.
You're getting old, mate. It happens. Is it an old thing or is it just natural? No, it's getting old, which is natural.
It's getting old.
You know, these things happen. What can we do?
Well, I mean, obviously, dear listener, that's the theme of today's podcast, is getting old, and it's inevitable for everybody. I do realise
If we're lucky.
that. If we're, please God.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, I know.
We should be thankful for it. I hate it. But
yeah.
some people say it's an honour to be this old because you actually got to this place.
Especially in today's world where the medicine is so good and people are living longer. We're blessed in that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good note to end it on. We're just trying to embrace it, learn what you can from life.
And enjoy it if you can.
Enjoy it if you can. Any final thoughts there, Dave?
Final thoughts is, don't smoke, kids.
Please don't smoke. Don't smoke.
All right, E. Final thoughts from me.
Final thoughts from me. All I can say, all the kids out there, all the crazy kids,
Stay in school.
stay in school.
Stay in school. Be lucky, people.
See you, everybody. Bye-bye.